Dostoevsky throws us into one of the most agonizing moral dilemmas in the history of thought: the problem of evil and the impossibility of justifying innocent suffering. This question has haunted humanity since ancient times, from Greek tragedies to modern philosophical debates. The existence of evil and pain has been one of the main obstacles to faith, a stumbling block for those who seek to reconcile the idea of a benevolent God with the brutality of reality. If God is omnipotent and good, why does he allow suffering? If he does not allow it, is he powerless? And if he allows it, but has reasons beyond our comprehension, is he truly good in a way we can accept? This paradox, known as the problem of evil, has been addressed from various perspectives: theology, metaphysics, ethics, and literature. But at the heart of this dilemma, what truly matters is not a logical abstraction, but the cry of the innocent suffering for no apparent reason. In the brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky's Ivan Karamazov presents an argument that tears apart any attempt at theodicy, even if God exists. Even if in the end all evil is redeemed in a universal harmony, he returns his ticket. He refuses to accept a world where the price of ultimate happiness is the suffering of a single child. His stance is not mere theoretical questioning, but a protest against the very structure of existence. Ivan not only denounces evil, but places it at the center of the moral dilemma that challenges both faith and reason alike. Ivan does not deny God, but he rejects his creation. His rebellion is not that of an atheist who dismisses divinity, but of someone who cannot reconcile the existence of a good God with the suffering that afflicts the innocent. How can one justify the torture of a child in the name of a cosmic justice that will only be revealed at the end of time? Ivan's question is more than philosophical, it is visceral, impossible to resolve with mere rational arguments. Through his harrowing descriptions of children subjected to abuse, victims of indifference, and exposed to the brutality of the world, Ivan drags us into an inescapable dilemma. If the suffering of children serves to complete the sum of suffering necessary to buy the truth, then I protest in advance, he says. His objection is not merely logical, but moral. His argument goes beyond the philosophical. It is an emotional and ethical rebellion. This stance resembles Voltaire's critique in Candide, where he mocks Leibniz's optimism. The German philosopher and mathematician attempted to justify evil by arguing that this world was the best possible one within God's plan. Voltaire responds with irony through the character of Pangloss, a philosopher who insists that everything is for the best, even when reality proves otherwise. With this figure, Voltaire ridicules the tendency to rationalize suffering as part of a higher plan, exposing the absurdity of accepting misery as necessary. How can one justify catastrophes, brutality, war, diseases, if God is good and almighty? Pangloss is a satirical echo of blind trust in divine providence, a faith that, in its effort to explain reality, ends up disconnected from it. His vision is a caricature of Leibnizian thought, which held that evil was a necessary component of a higher divine plan, but taken to the extreme in Voltaire's hands. The mockery of this radical optimism is a denunciation of passivity in the face of suffering, a fierce critique of those who justify pain as part of a greater purpose without confronting its immediate cruelty. Albert Camus, in The Rebel, takes Ivan's objection even further. If the world is absurd and God does not give us satisfactory answers, the only honest stance is rebellion against injustice. Not a metaphysical rebellion, but a practical one. If God remains silent in the face of the suffering of the innocent, the responsibility falls on us. Camus urges us not to resign ourselves or fall into nihilism, but to fight against injustice with our own hands, In The Rebel, he argues that the only dignified response to the universe's indifference is active rebellion, the creation of meaning through our actions. For Camus, the absence of a divine order guaranteeing justice is not an excuse for passivity, but a call to action. If life has no given meaning, we must build it by facing the absurd with courage and commitment to others. The problem of evil and divine justice has been debated throughout history by multiple thinkers. Augustine of Hippo, for example, argued that evil is not a substance in itself, but a deprivation of good, a result of human free will. Thomas Aquinas, following this line, maintained that God allows evil to bring about a greater good, even if this purpose transcends our understanding. However, Dostoevsky distances himself from these theological explanations. In Demons, he explores how the denial of God can lead to nihilism, but in The Brothers Karamazov, he shows that even belief in God does not resolve the dilemma of suffering. History has also provided examples of this struggle between faith and suffering. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, described how some prisoners found meaning even in the horror of concentration camps, while others collapsed before the absurdity of evil. For Frankl, the key was to find a purpose beyond suffering. We can also recall the testimony of Elie Wiesel, who in Night narrates the death of his faith in the face of extreme suffering, reflecting the same dilemma that torments Ivan Karamazov. But the question remains, can a good God allow the suffering of the innocent? If God exists, why does the child starve, get tortured, or get abandoned? And if there is no God, how do we cope with the brutality of the world without falling into nihilistic despair? Dostoevsky does not give us easy answers, but he forces us to stare into the abyss and decide whether to return our ticket or find a reason to stay. The tragedy and beauty of his work lie in leaving us within this tension, without absolute certainties, but with one possibility: if the world is cruel, perhaps the only valid response is to love despite everything.